have to pay this. But here's what we did. Created a perfectly horizontally modulated groove. And we're looking down the groove, right? Looking down. And I want to focus on this side right now. Looking down the groove. Now, this stylus, this is the stylus contact edge, and it's we made this a 4 micron radius. Remember, that's the minor radius here. And we want to see, okay, well, how does it travel down the groove when it's perfectly aligned? And if you notice this spring here, it's really left, right, left, right, left, right. Now we introduced zenith error, and now it's bouncing up and down. Same groove, same stylus. The only difference, zenith error. And you watch the spring, and you can really see how it's going in an ovular pattern. But there's no vertical content to the groove, 0. None. That's becoming an electrical signal that's being passed.
Which is oscillating your signal.
That's right. And the left channel is out of phase with the right channel.
Every single.
And it's look, but the distortion is actually of a linear nature. So it doesn't sound like mechanical breakup. It doesn't sound like mistracking.
No, but once you've heard it, you recognize it and you hear it on every single note. That's the reason I'm so interested in you coming up with that, because that's something I have familiarity with. Hear it.
Yeah.
And you can hear it. It hangs on every single.
Yeah. So
every single note.
Fremmer once had.
Fremmer
once was he had 2 tone arms that he on his main turntable. One was the SAT, right, tone arm, and the other one was a linear bearing. I think it was the reed. They make very nice arms. But it was a linear bearing. It was the reed, right? And now, for those of you who are familiar with the SAT tone arm, Mark Gomez made a decision to reallocate where the null points are based on his assumption that the innermost modulated groove of a record isn't 60 millimeters away from the center, which is the IEC standard, but is 75 millimeters away. Now, if you watch my videos, you know I got one video where I actually measured 1,300 record styles. Because I want to know what's happening over time, and then I documented by musical genre and by year of production what is happening with that innermost groove, because I too thought it's getting further and further away from the center of the record. Why would I care? Well, if the modulated content of the record is growing narrower and narrower, there's an opportunity, it's not less quality, it's an opportunity to reapply the Lofgren and Baerwald formulas for the new outermost and innermost modulated grooves, which allows you to reduce overall distortion. And that's the whole point behind why I made the newer record collections and older record collections alignment marks on the Wally tractor. So I found 68 millimeters to be statistically significant for records 1990 and afterwards. There started to be a statistically significant difference in that innermost groove. 68 millimeters is where it was. So I reapplied it, and then I reapplied the Lofgren and Baerwald formulas and say, okay, where are the null points, and what does that do to overall distortion? And just by pure coincidence, it turned out that the reduction in overall tracing distortion between the old alignment and the new alignment is almost exactly the same reduction in distortion you get from going from a 9-inch arm to a 12-inch arm. So if you want to hear what your 9-inch arm would sound like if it were 12 inches, then you'd listen to the new record collection. Of course, there's so many things that are different about that. If you take the same tone arm in a 9-inch version and 12-inch version, there's many things that are changing. Effective mass. If you were to do laser vibrometry, you'll see that they're vibrating differently. They're obviously resonating differently. So so even though you go from a 9-inch to a 12-inch, what you're not hearing alone is the lower tracing distortion. Guaranteed. You aren't hearing that alone. You're hearing other things. Well, this way, you're hearing it. Do you care? Maybe not. That's okay.
I can vouch for it. I did it.
You said, that's right. You said to the new record collection alignment.
I loved it.
Really?
Everything was better.
With a 9-inch arm?
Yeah.
Now, not everybody will be able to reach the overhang for that.
Yeah, that's
because it's a different overhang. But if you can slightly reposition your pivot, your spindle to pivot distance, you can get it. Some people just don't have head shell slots quite long enough to
We have to
reach
sometimes
that.
blow them out a little bit more.
Mine was no problem.
Yes.
That's what I did.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had no problems with that.
Okay, good. So with the linear bearings, right? Of course, the idea is not to have any error at all
That's right.
across the entirety of the surface.
Straight across.
But of course, if you've got 5 degrees of zenith error, then you're off 5 degrees the whole way through.
Well, that's
Yeah.
gonna be the big change for me, at least on my ET arm, because that thing just, it glides like perfectly. I mean, clean air supply, clean room, the whole shebang,
Yeah.
but the bottom line is any deviation. So
Yeah.
the question is, how are we gonna get to a point where we can get these cartridge manufacturers to far tighter tolerances? Pay for it, of course.
No, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So I know also for a fact, because they've told me, that the cartridge manufacturers have been for years asking the vendors, Namiki, Ogura, Geiger, to tighten up their tolerances, but they're meeting with resistance.
Why don't we
Okay.
just have a bin? Why don't we create a bin standard like we do in the LEDs? I mean, that's my background. We have a bin standard, and guess what? With the bin standard, you pay more money for it, but guess what? People who know what they want,
Yeah.
that's what they're ordering, and they get it every single
Yeah.
time.
No, I'm with you. The